how does culture today affect our wellness as Americans specifically? Do you see a link between culture, and it could be good or bad? Do you see a link between what's happening in culture and how that is improving our wellness or vitality, or decreasing our wellness or vitality?
Yeah, I'd say from the outset, my gut reaction would be it's definitely decreasing. But when I think about, because I think about that question in terms of the culture, and I try to put myself, in a dead position, like 100 years, and then saying, coming back and be like, what was the culture like in America in 2020? Like a significant year, and I think, I think based upon all the information that's out there and things we've talked about before, right? There isn't like 3 talking heads on a TV broadcast in the 1970s. There's like 1,000 talking heads, right? You used to get your paper in the morning and watch the news at night. 1,000 options for that. Now just imagine all the people that don't see any of those thousands of options. So what do you have as a definition of culture? Really, like, who determines what culture is? So that's the way I see the thing for, so I don't know if that messes up where we were going with the idea of it. So first of all, definitely
decreasing.
And I think why it's decreasing is because of the dispersal of nothing that we could grab onto to say, this is social conservatism. So this is like that word alone, just as an example, you can't even define it anymore. Yeah. It's not definable. The left and the right are not definable.
Let me make sure I understand where you're going with this. So you're saying it's decreasing currently.
Yeah.
Big reason, I'm not sure if you're saying this is the reason, but big reason is because a lack of agreement?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Noise is a higher up way of saying why there's chaos and there's noise. Okay. And in that, you can't grasp onto anything. Whether it's right or wrong, you can't grasp anything. 7 different stories, 7 different perspectives, 7 different ways to look at it. So like we've discussed before, I completely understand why people get exhausted and just say, no, I'm listening to this one person. Yeah. Because it works for me and my brain.
They become tribal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you connect to a tribe.
Yeah, but there's a million tribes. That's, there's not just 2 factions like people want you to make out there to believe. There's a million tribes. Yeah. Right? And you find your own, little spot. So for quote unquote culture, I can't even define it to answer your question of it because of that dispersal of.
What do you think is, I'm not going to say the biggest, because I think we'd have to sit here and think about this for a while, but what do you think is a big thing or piece or thought process, whatever we want to define that as, in culture that you think is having a huge impact on vitality decreasing from a cultural perspective?
Media.
Okay.
Yeah.
Expand, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, what people are doing when they're not exercising. What are they doing? Watching a TV show, watching Hollywood, watching TikTok, watching Fox, watching CNN, watching MSNBC, watching New York Times, watching, so whatever, if it's not watching, it's listening. Yeah. So all of that, and that's why I call it just information, right?
So that's more like, that's more connected to like, you're spending time in places that are decreasing your vitality. So it's not like what the media is saying or anything like that. You're just connected to this like media thing, whether it's your phone or the computer or the TV, whatever the case is. You're just spending time there instead of doing things that would otherwise improve your wellness or vitality.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not for everyone, but that's the people that, that's the people that I would say are most affected by that downstream effect of, quote unquote, the definition of culture decreasing vitality. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
because there's a ton of what we would call, what Batya Unger Sargon calls, she wrote Bad News, and she just wrote a new book called Second Class. What Victor Davis Hanson calls the people who work with their hands, micro, kind of perspective. Those people don't have time to concern themselves over that noise and chaos in the culture.
Yeah.
Right? And so we can define then, well, what's vitality in regards to that? I don't know, 30 years as a plumber or electrician or, a nurse, so that's not the group I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They don't have time to do that shit, right? So there is a different class of individuals that I'm discussing that have lots of times on their hands to be a part of that like chaos and information thing. That is leading to what I would describe as a lowering of vitality.
Yeah. Hey guys, just want to say thank you for watching the video and take a second to talk to you about our app, CoachRx. So we built CoachRx to bridge the gap for coaches. And what do I mean by bridge the gap? So we're looking at a couple areas in which we're trying to solve for coaches on a daily basis. Number one being communication. We want you to be able to communicate with your clients more effectively and be able to connect them to what you're designing in program and lifestyles and nutrition coaching. Number two, we want to bridge the gap and we want to allow you to create more effective and efficient lifestyle, nutrition, and exercise programs. And number three, we want to bridge the gap and we want this platform to be truly all-in-one, something that you can build your business in, run payments, understand impact metrics, the whole nine. But I want to go back to that concept of all-in-one. So all-in-one is never truly done, but that is our North Star. So we're always working to make our app all-in-one. So we will constantly innovate, we will constantly integrate, and we will constantly update to ensure that we're just getting closer and closer to that all-in-one. So I can promise one thing as well. When you get in CoachRx today, you will experience the worst version of CoachRx because we are constantly improving and making this thing better. So don't take my word for it. Go in and start your risk-free 14-day trial and let us know what you think. What are your thoughts on like someone's mentality as well, because they spend so much time just in media, maybe behind a screen, let's say, right? Because people are spending so much time behind a screen. Yeah. How does that affect their mentality? Or do you even think like the mentality or the mental aspect, and because they're spending so much time there, is that also contributing to a decrease in vitality, right? Maybe it's something like you mentioned, like the plumber, right? Where it's like, I'm going into someone's home on a daily basis. I'm helping people, right? I'm like actually improving the lives of other people in my community. But you have the person that's like on X or whatever they're on all day and kind of just like being a voyeur. Maybe they feel a certain type of way that they're not contributing to society or whatever the case is. I don't know if you think like there's a correlation from that point of view.
Again, this is kind of apropos to the book I'm reading on the definition of like how to define modernity, right? And what are the things that led to like modern times. And I'm glad you used the plumber example, because I also want to use an individual like Destiny, or his name is Stephen Bunnell. He goes by Destiny. And if no one knows, just YouTube, and don't worry, it's not going to be hurtful for you if you kind of get him on the logarithm. But it does, and how am I tying this in, is that this individual, I'm going to assume, is quote unquote online all the time, okay? So it's about defining, again, what we mean by success for vitality before we can get to like, well, is that person vital? Is that person vital? Is the plumber vital? Is Destiny vital? It depends upon what you determine as success. So this is where I like thinking about, well, what would cause the highest amount of stress that results in truths to come out? And what are those things that we have around us that cause those things to come out? Physical challenges. Physical challenges cause people to discover truths. What's another thing? Family. Having children. staying with the same person for 30 years, staying with the same person for 50 years, having that as a convicted goal that you want to accomplish. So I can give you like 7 more, but you see after the second one, who are we talking about? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if I determine ultimate physical expression and ultimate expression of a human as having a family, having a job, physically challenging yourself, learning about your existence, learning about your presence, learning about community, etc. Do you see how now when we talk about destiny versus the plumber, who am I to determine what vitality is? Because the destiny-esque individual could say, well, I don't even, and I apologize for classifying him, but it's just an interesting avatar example. Does he have goals of having a family? Does he lift weights Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and
I'm smiling
run?
because I know a little bit about him.
Okay.
And the family piece. So.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
smirking.
like, it's, but you want to like edge up and say, well, James, what do you determine as modern methods of vitality? Because you and I are kidding ourselves if we think the whole next generation are going to grow up to be excited about being a plumber or an electrician or a nurse or a teacher, you're kidding yourself if you really think there's like tens of thousands of young people that are pumped about that.
Yeah.
Do you know what they're pumped about? Being online, right? Calling it entrepreneurism. See what I'm saying? So how do you determine vitality, back to your point of the plumber versus the online-esque area? The answer is, it depends upon what you determine as success of a life well lived. And that's what I determine.
But when you say you mean
I'm saying the person needs
those two people, those two different avatars.
And everyone needs to say, well, what do I determine as a life well lived?
Yeah.
Right? As like a truly expressed life. Right? That's why I threw in the family thing.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning that, because I call that stress to the system. If it's just James, there's no stress. James and Leanne, more stress. James, Leanne, Hannah, and Chloe, business, lots of stress. That's what I mean. Good stress, but stress, that reveals truths. Who are you really? What do you really stand for?
Hey guys, thanks a lot for being here and watching the video. And since you're here, I'm going to assume that you're looking to improve your knowledge, improve your coaching acumen, or let's call it improve your coaching wisdom. And we have a platform that is built to do exactly that. So we built this platform called LearnerX because we saw a massive hole in the fitness education market. We saw a lot of high barrier education that was inconsistent and that was updated every decade. So we saw that hole and wanted to fill it with high quality, broad fitness education. And by broad, I just mean from a topic standpoint, whether you want to improve your knowledge in program design, nutrition coaching, lifestyle, building relationships, or business acumen, we have you covered in LearnerX. So to learn more, head over to opexfit.com/LearnerX.